Welcome to Am I the Jerk, where Karen plays a prank on her husband in the worst possible way. Am I the jerk for being furious with my pregnant wife over a prank? I, 31 male, have been with my wife Lisa since college, and she's currently 7 months pregnant with our first baby. My wife Lisa is witty and likes to play jokes on me. For example, she likes to pass off fake facts and stories as real and see if I'll believe them. Lisa was a theater kid, and so she's great at acting and selling these stories. I used to fall for her pranks all the time since I'm gullible and she's so convincing. However, now that I've been with her for so many years, I can typically tell when she's messing with me. She's upped the antics over the years, so she can occasionally get me to believe one of her jokes. Today, when I got home from work, Lisa had tears in her eyes and told me she needed to talk to me about something. I was seriously worried, and I sat down with her immediately. I asked her what was wrong several times, and she kept saying it was hard to talk about, and she was terrified I'd leave her. I kept pressing, and she told me she had had an affair with her boss several months ago and wasn't sure if the baby was mine. I asked if she was serious, and she said she was 100% serious and started crying even harder. I got up and started pacing around. I tried to gather my thoughts. After a few minutes, Lisa burst into laughter and said she was just joking. I was furious. I said it wasn't funny in the slightest to make jokes about cheating and our baby not being mine. Lisa then said that she was offended that I believed that specific prank and not several others. She said she couldn't believe I actually thought she'd cheat on me. She then got teary and asked why I didn't trust her. I asked why I would trust her after she pulled that prank on me, managed to cry telling me about it, and continued with the prank even though I was visibly upset. Lisa said it was harmless and I was blowing things way out of proportion. She continued to ask why I didn't trust her, and I told her I needed some space. I ended up going to a speakeasy, and I've been away from the house ever since, even though Lisa has called me several times. I know it was a prank, but I thought this joke went way too far, especially with the tears. I also was clearly upset, as anyone would be, and she should have stopped it as soon as she realized I was actually falling for it. Usually Lisa's jokes are funny, but this one really got to me for some reason. Am I the jerk, and am I overreacting? I feel badly because she's very pregnant with our baby, and I don't want to stress her out, but I need space right now. Not the jerk. The worst part about this to me isn't even the prank. It's after the prank, she sees you're upset, and instead of apologizing, she blames you for believing her and begins to question you. Also, just remember she can make herself cry, so never let her tears fool you. Not the jerk. That's not a joke. It's a warning. 100%. I bet she did cheat and was gauging your response. Get a paternity test now. This will save you a lot of grief later on, and prepare for the worst. I, 31 male, found my parents' will and I feel betrayed. How do I go about this? This past weekend, I was house sitting for my parents, who are 68. I keep my hunting rifle in their safe since I live in the city. I haven't used it in a while, so I decided to zero it. While getting it out, I did some treasure hunting in the safe. At the time, I really didn't think I was snooping. The whole family has the combination to it. I just never looked before. It was mostly boring stuff like passports and jewelry, but there was an envelope with the logo of a law firm on it. And in it, their will. As you might have guessed, I was to receive less than my siblings. I have an older sister who's 38 and an older brother who's 36. They're getting 40% each while I get 20%. I read through the whole thing thinking I was to get some other assets or something, but no, it was after everything was liquidated. I don't know why they would do this. The only thing I can think of is that my siblings are both married and they have kids, and I'm single and child-free, but that just feels so stupid. They don't know that I'm child-free by choice. And what if I had kids later on? I doubt my sibling would give me that money retroactively. It makes even less sense since my brother has 3 kids and my sister only has 1, yet they get the same amount. It's not like it's going to be a trust for their grandkids either. It goes directly to us as lump sums. We've talked openly about inheritance before, like in family meetings, but no one ever said that some would get more or less. Just things like if someone was interested in the house or farm, or if they should sell it, etc. They also have been open with how much they have. They're both retired now, both have worked full-time jobs, plus been running a farm their entire lives. It's been a few years since I saw the numbers myself, but last time they told us it was $2.1 million. I'm well aware that 20% of that is life-changing amount, so a small part of me feels greedy, but the rest of me just feels sad and angry. I haven't been able to get it out of my head. We never fight. We all meet on holidays, etc. I just can't think of anything. And no, I'm not an affair child. My mom's hobby is genealogy, and we all have profiles on Ancestry. I look just like my paternal grandfather. None of us siblings are rich. If I had to guess, my sister and her husband are probably in the best state financially, having good jobs and only one kid. I'm probably the worst off right now, since I just bought a house on a single income. Do I tell them what I saw? Do I just forget it and secretly hope they change it before they pass? My head is like a brick right now. I hate this. It's like I'll lose whatever I do. What would you do? Any parents with adult kids out there that can see their side and justify it? Update. I called them yesterday and explained everything I saw. Some of you guessed it. It was the adults they had based it upon, not the kids. My siblings' spouses are great people and my parents love them as their own, so sure, I can buy that. The kids were also a factor. I told them I found it a weird way to split it and asked what would happen if I got married. They told me they will rewrite their will. What if I marry a person they don't like as much? No answer. What if I marry or have kids after they pass on? No answer. I asked if they had considered that my siblings' spouses would presumably inherit their own parents one day. No answer. Probably the most awkward conversation I've ever had with them. They asked me if I wanted them to rewrite the will to do a 33 split instead. This question actually put me off. So, in line with what many here told me, I said no and that they're free to do whatever they wanted with their money. But I also said I feel disappointed and what I really want is for them to want to change it. They texted today with an apology and that they will go over their options. I haven't had the energy to reply yet. So many things here. You're wrong for snooping. You had access because your item was in there. That's it. You were never given permission to access anything else, let alone read their will. You're not entitled to an inheritance, and how they choose to split it up is their business. They don't owe you any type of explanation. You actually have no idea why they decided to give you less. You're assuming. But even if that was why, look back to the previous point. You're not owed anything, inheritance or an explanation. People who get angry over an inheritance are selfish and absurd. Am I the jerk for disinviting my daughter to our Thanksgiving because she won't host it herself? In our family, holidays are rotated, so one person hosts the 4th of July, another hosts Christmas, and another hosts Thanksgiving, etc. This way, no one is constantly hosting, and it makes it fair for everyone. This post is about my middle daughter, Clara. Clara has always been skipping her host duties. When it gets to her, she has an excuse why she can't host. It ranges, but usually goes along the lines of stress or she's too busy. This results in other family members to pick up her holiday. It's frustrating, and multiple people have talked to her about this. She bailed on hosting Easter, but promised me that she would do Thanksgiving, and we swapped holidays. At the time, I made it very clear she needed to stay true to her word, and if she dumped it on someone else, she wouldn't be coming to Thanksgiving. It usually gets dumped on me. Anyway, I called her asking if she wanted me to bring a dessert board for Thanksgiving. She told me that she could not host because she had just moved into her home. She moved in July, and it was too messy to host. I told her she could clean it since it was a few weeks away. She told me that she can't. I know the other kids can't host it. Well, one could, but she's doing Christmas, and it's not fair for her at all. I informed everyone it would be at my place this year. I also informed everyone that Clara is not invited this year to Thanksgiving. Clara was upset when I told her that, and we got into a huge fight. She thinks I'm being a jerk. My other kids are split. 2 of them are happy since they are tired of picking up her slack when this happens, while others think this is too far. So, outside opinion. Info. Have you ever had a conversation about coming to a compromise or seen why Clara is so adamant about not hosting? For example, do the rest of you have spouses that can help while Clara is single? Does she have small kids while the rest don't? Or maybe Clara just has the personality where hosting is rough on her. If I were you, I'd have this honest conversation and see what middle ground can be reached. For example, in my family, my parents always host for holidays because they have the biggest, nicest house, and because they live near other people they'd like to invite. But my sister and I often go over a few days early, do the cleaning, shopping, and cooking, and make things as easy on my parents as possible. And when there are outside guests, we take on hosting duties as well. I'm just surprised that you jumped to ostracizing Clara from the holidays without figuring out a way for her to contribute without hosting. If she's only willing to take in all aspects, that's one issue. If the only thing she's not willing to give is hosting though, if you love her and want to spend time with her, wouldn't you want to at least try and figure something out? OP. I have asked, and she claims she wants to host. We've asked her to bring things before, but she also does not do that. None of them are married. One does have a longtime girlfriend, but everyone is on their own. No kids, and she doesn't have a personality that would make it difficult to host. Okay, if she won't contribute in any way, shape, or form, and you've asked her to be honest about whether she's willing to host, I can see more clearly why you jumped to disinviting her. It's still not what I would do, because I'd rather feel a little taken advantage of than exclude family from a holiday. but Clara is definitely behaving selfishly, especially with backing out at the last minute. That explanation softens things to the extent where I see you as not the jerk, even if we have somewhat different family values. I broke up with my boyfriend of 10 years today because he didn't get me anything for my birthday. For some context, me, 27 female, and my boyfriend, 34 male, we'll call him Joe, have been together for a little over 10 years. We were supposed to be getting engaged a couple of years ago, but it kept getting pushed back due to personal reasons on his part. I work and Joe does not, but he receives money from the government. He gets about 1,100 euros a month and I make a little over 2,000. Me and Joe have both been saving up for the past 10 years to get married and start a family. Joe's biggest hobby is gaming and collecting limited editions of games, statues, and everything else that he likes. I would say in the past 10 years that I've been with him, he's spent well over 40,000 euros on games and collectibles. He had this hobby when I met him and I never tried to change that. I was a little concerned what the future would look like, but Joe promised me that when it was time to have kids and get married, he would sell everything except for a few things he really wanted to keep. I had no reason to doubt him, but in the last 4 years, things have gotten really bad. Joe has a really big spending addiction, and in the last 4 years, he spent about 15,000 on his hobby. This year alone, he spent close to 5,000. Every time I mention the wedding or finally starting a family, I've been ready for years, he always says he wants us to be more financially stable. The problem is, he's blowing through his savings and is not slowing down. He keeps promising me after every big purchase that he will stop and that this is the last time and he doesn't need anything else. But then a few weeks or a month later, he buys something else really expensive. These last 2 months, he spent about 3,000 euros. I've tried talking to him so many times and telling him how I feel and my worries. He tells me I'm completely right and it will stop. 3 weeks ago, he bought a limited edition PlayStation that was 1,100 euros, 4 limited controllers that were 350, 2 weeks later an Xbox Series X that was 333, and last night he came home with an 1,800 euro TV that I knew nothing about until after. We got into a huge fight and I demanded that he take it back to the store to get his money back, or I was finally done because he keeps breaking his promises to me. He told me he was not taking it back and if I wanted to leave, then I should just leave. Today is my birthday and I haven't heard from him. No happy birthday message at midnight that I would normally receive when we're apart. And he told me that he didn't get me any gifts because he couldn't find anything. I cried myself to sleep and I've spent the whole day in bed. My heart is broken. I feel like I've wasted the last 10 years on someone that was never really serious. He's proven to me I will never be in his #1 priority. We're supposed to be starting a family and I feel that he's throwing it all away. I don't have time to waste anymore. I don't know if I'm making a mistake by leaving, but I've never been so unhappy and things don't seem to be changing. I don't know if I'm overly emotional because he didn't get me anything for my birthday or because he's constantly lying. Any advice is welcome, even if it's negative. I need other people's perspectives. Systematically, he is not invested in you or your future together, and he has no plans to. This isn't about your birthday. This is about far more than that. He told you he wouldn't return his purchase and told you to go ahead and leave. Between you and the purchase, he chose the purchase. That's all you need to know. I know it feels like throwing 10 years away, but that doesn't mean you should throw away one single more day with this guy. He did get you a birthday gift, the final straw. Look ahead, you have plenty of life adventures to come. Answer this, why would you want someone like him to be the father of your kids? Would you rather waste 10 years or 20? You can't marry this person, he'll be an awful and irresponsible dad. It's absolutely not too late for you to fall in love with someone new and to have a family, but you need to stay broken up. Tell all your family and friends the whole truth, exactly how much he has spent on toys and the fact he ignored you on your birthday. You've likely hinted at these things to friends and family in the past, but spared the details. Tell them the full story so they can help keep you accountable. My best friend from college ghosted me for 7 years. Now she's back in my life, acting as if nothing happened. My friend from college, we were best friends and inseparable. We had so many great memories, could talk about anything, did pretty much everything together. It was mutual on both ends. We never fought, and I was under the impression everything was good. I think that's why it came as such a huge shock. After we graduated, she just stopped answering my calls, texts, messages on Facebook. She would just heart it and not reply. I was crushed. I had sent her a message on Facebook and asked if I had done anything or said anything wrong, and if I did, definitely wasn't intentional because I've always cared about her. No response. It went like this for 7 years. It honestly broke my heart. I kept replaying everything in my head to try and see if there was anything that I missed. Did I say something that I didn't know about? I was heartbroken, I felt abandoned, and the worst part was not knowing or being given an answer. After 7 years, one of our mutual friends, who she was still in touch with, gave me her new number. So I reached out and said, "Hey, just wanted you to know that you've been missed. If I said or did anything wrong, I'm sorry." She said, "Oh, you know how technology is. So many people have said they have tried to reach me, but I wasn't getting any of their messages." Yet she was still hearting them. Now, for the past few months, she's been going on as if nothing happened and has been buddy-buddy. I'm happy she's back in my life, but I'm starting to realize that this was not cool. You don't just walk out of someone's life for 7 years, chalk it up to technology, and then act like we're all good. It's hard because I love her and I want to be friends, but I'm like, is she just going to walk out again for 7 years with no explanation and some bogus excuse? I'm still hurt because I don't feel like I ever got a real answer from her, and she was still in touch with mutual friends for all those years. A few of them ended up having a fallout with her in the past year, and then she needed me and started writing back because she didn't have her other friends, and I'm starting to realize that maybe she's not a real friend. I thought about just being like, look, technology was working just fine when you were talking and hanging out with other friends. Just spill it. What's the real reason you stopped talking to me? Because you know that really hurt me. What are your thoughts on this? I could really use some solid advice. Should I block her and move on with my life? I just don't know what to do. Personally, I would confront her, and after she answered, I would tell her that I didn't want to be friends with her anymore. Update. So I confronted her, and she said the truth was one of our mutual friends was in her ear, feeding her lies and gossip about me, and after 8 years, she realized that that girl wasn't a true friend, and that everything she said about people was a lie, and that she wasn't a good person. I'm not sure how to respond. A part of me is like, we were best friends. You know me, my heart, and you believe someone else? Ghost me with no explanation, no response for 8 years over a lie? I guess I just wish she would have been open to hearing my side. As best friends, had it been the other way around, I would have been like, hey, this was said, and I just wanted to run it by you. She didn't even care to hear my side, and found out 8 years too late that none of it was true, because that friend started doing that to her too. A part of me is heartbroken that a lie took away 8 years of friendship. Another part of me is like, dude, not even a response or even trying to hear my side. Is she going to do this again? What would you do? Has anybody been through something similar? In your shoes, you can choose the level of friendship. You don't have to jump straight back to best friends. You can be acquaintances at first. She doesn't have a right to your time or friendship, and honestly has a boatload of work to do to demonstrate a change of heart. I love my baby's mom, but she wants to leave. So I, 27 male, met Mila, 25 female, 4 years ago at a bar. Long story short, it was a mutual friend's birthday. We were at this bar, and we had both just gotten out of long-term relationships. Hers was 5 years, mine was 4. A lot of drinking later, it was really awkward waking up on the birthday dude's couch with her. Anyway, after all that, me and Mila were both super awkward about it. She legit looked like she wanted to crawl under a rock. Neither of us wanted anything serious since we had just broken up with our exes, but we still swapped numbers and went our separate ways. Fast forward 3 months. Mila texted me asking to grab coffee. I thought it was kind of weird, but I figured she might want to go on a date or something. When I got there, she looked like she'd been crying. As soon as I sat down, she just started bawling. Turns out she was pregnant. She hadn't realized because she was super stressed and tired, but I was the only person she had been with. My whole life flipped upside down. We did a DNA test and it was mine. Then she moved in with me because she was sharing a room with a roommate. The guest room became hers, and my office is now Andrea's room. But we call him Andy. Having a kid wasn't exactly in my plans, but since Andy came along, my life's been better, honestly. Over the years, me and Mila never really had a romantic relationship, except for this one time she kissed me after Andy was born. We get along, I support them, I'm paying for Mila's grad school, she finishes next year. We split the chores, and I'm always there for whatever she needs. So in November, Andy's gonna be 3. We've been planning his birthday, it's around Halloween, so he and his friends are all gonna dress up. He wants to go as Bingo from Bluey. During one of our talks, Mila asked if I wanted her to move out. She said now that Andy's 3, we could co-parent separately, and I could even get a girlfriend if I wanted to. I just went blank and said no and left to my room. Here's the thing, I love her. Having Andy is everything to me, but I'm also legit in love with her. She's smart, beautiful, caring, thoughtful, kind, dedicated. She's literally the most perfect person ever. But I'm way too scared to tell her. We have a kid together, and I'm terrified of ruining everything between us as parents and friends. I don't know if I should tell her how I feel or if I should just keep pretending everything's fine so I don't mess up what we have. Update. So I left work early, picked up Andy from nursery, and dropped him off at Mom's. I brought some flowers, cleaned up the house while she was in class, and texted her saying she didn't need to pick up Andy and to just come home because we had to talk. When she got home, she looked at me with her big eyes wide open, and the first thing she asked about was our kid. I hugged her for a while, but she went full mommy bear mode and kept asking about him. After I reassured her that he was with my mom and everything was fine, she finally calmed down. I brought her to the living room, gave her the bouquet, and started talking. It was a long conversation. I told her how I'd been scared of ruining things and how it hurt when she asked if I wanted her to leave. She admitted she was afraid she was messing up my life, that she feels like a burden sometimes, and even blames herself for ruining my life with her pregnancy. I shut that down real quick. I never wanted kids, but honestly, since Andy and Mila came into my life, everything's been way better. It's been the best, most challenging mistake I've ever made. She also said she likes me too, and she's felt that way since she was pregnant, but wasn't sure if it was just the hormones. After the baby, she felt embarrassed to say anything because she didn't feel comfortable anymore. She never got back to the pre-pregnancy body and thought I wouldn't find her attractive. But to me, she's the most beautiful woman on the planet. She also admitted she'd get jealous when I went on dates, even though she knew it didn't make sense because we weren't a thing. Honestly, if she went on dates, I'd be dying of jealousy too. We talked for a long time, even got into some deeper, more personal stuff. By the time we were done, it was late. We went to this small restaurant near our place for dinner. No wine because I was driving, but it was amazing. We chatted about music, movies, and she went off about shows she likes, and I rambled about Lord of the Rings. We talked about life and random stuff. At the end of the night, I got a few kisses in the car, like we didn't even live together, which was kind of cute. Then we watched a horror movie, but she fell asleep cuddling me. It was a day full of wins. Karen tells me I should have stayed in school, so I told her that I make more than her and her husband combined. I'm a steam fitter. I work on high-pressure pipes that move gases and liquids, and I work a lot of overtime. Because I hate working, I usually work like a madman for 7 months of the year, then I take the other 5 off. My brother is a teacher and the first person in our family to graduate from university. I've always been proud of him, and he's actually pretty awesome. He married another teacher, and they have 2 sons. His wife comes from a family of educated people. I think most of her relatives are college educated. My wife and I are expecting our first baby, and we had my parents and my brother's family over so we could announce it. I spent the day getting my smoker going early, and we set up for what I thought was going to be a nice visit and announcement. Full disclosure, my wife and I currently live in a manufactured home, a mobile home. We keep it tidy, and it has city water and power. I'm not sure why, but my sister-in-law decided that before dinner was the perfect time to tell her kids that they need to stay in school if they don't want to end up like me and my wife. I saw red, and I was about to let her have it, but my mom and brother told her that she was being rude and that she needed to apologize. She didn't. She doubled down and said that we were doing okay for the 2 of us, but what if we wanted to have kids? She just didn't want her kids to end up like us. I told my brother he needed to tell her to shut up or they needed to leave. She said that she was just thinking about our future and our kids' future. I told her that my kids would probably be okay as soon as her husband paid me back for his education that I paid for. My brother has no student loans because I paid for his education. I told her that my current house wasn't great, but that the construction across the road was our new house we were having built since my wife and I owned the quarter section of land our trailer is on. I then told her that since I make more money than her and my brother combined while only working a little over half a year, I think we'll be okay. I would not actually call in the loan to my brother. I know that they are living just within their means and do not have the money to pay me back. She got embarrassed and they left. I told my parents about the baby, and we had a ton of leftovers since 4 people had left. My parents, my wife, and my brother all said that I didn't need to lose my cool with her and that she meant well. My mom said that I was wrong to point out how much money I make. I don't know. I hated myself for pointing out that my brother is poor compared to me, but I didn't start the conversation. Not the jerk. She should not denigrate what you do for a living. Your brother should have told her that he owed you money. My girlfriend has a gift, and I'm terrified. Okay, this sounds insane, but I don't know anymore. I, 27 male, have known my girlfriend who's 24 for around 7 years, and she's always been a bit odd. Not in a bad way, but she's very empathetic and too kind for her own good. She also has chronic depression and anxiety and BPD. A few months into us dating, she would do this thing where she would text me to hydrate, eat, stretch, relax my muscles, the works. I didn't think much of it honestly, like those are very common things people forget to do. Then she got more specific, an example being, hey, pop your left shoulder or it'll start to hurt later tonight. Or she would buy me foods I was craving without me asking, or send me reassurance when I was feeling low. Even those, however, I was able to brush off with ease, like what nearly 30-year-old doesn't have aches and pains, you know? It was like that for months, and occasionally I'd ask her how she knew I hadn't hydrated all day, or how she knew I wanted one of my cravings, to which she would always respond with, "It's a gift. Cool, huh?" I figured she was bluffing and kept getting lucky. Now I don't think that's the case. Last week, she called off work and rushed over. I asked her why she felt the need to do that, and she said she felt compelled. An hour later, we got the news a family member I was close to had passed away. Here I have to note, she is close with my parents, but they don't talk outside of family gatherings, so there's no way she would have known prior to the call. She stayed by my side the rest of the week and confided in me that she was a different religion than I am. She's a Hellenistic pagan and I'm a Baptist, and then she got the urge to call off work when she was cleaning up her altar. I was a bit shaken up, but ultimately I was just glad she was there with me. This weekend we went to visit her dad. She suggested it because he lives outside of a tourist trap town and we could use the vacation. I agreed and it was a fantastic trip. On the ride there, she confessed she doesn't like my job because it's dangerous. It wouldn't be, and I don't think it is at any of the other shops, but we simply don't have the equipment to do what we claim we can, so we have to jerry-rig quite a bit. I explained this to her, and she just reiterated she wants me to be careful. I promised I would, and she dropped it. I've tried my best to not tell her about how sketchy it gets sometimes, or that we actually had a workplace incident recently, but the way she talked, it felt like she knew. Throughout the drive from her dad's to the town, the drive was anxiety-inducing. We're talking heavy rain, plus bad drivers, and my car was acting up. Yet my usually anxious girlfriend with car wreck trauma was unfazed. When I inquired about it at dinner, she said that she knew we wouldn't wreck. I asked her how she could possibly know that, and she said, "I have a gift, and I should just trust her on this." It was hard, but I did my best. When I was dropping her off, she warned me to be on the lookout for deer and to drive safe. Two somewhat normal statements given where we live, but I didn't think it meant, hey, there's gonna be a deer in the middle of the road, so don't hit it. It was just the icing on the cake, and I still don't get this gift. The next morning, she's gushing about how much she liked our weekend and how much she loved spending time with me, how we need to do it again, blah, blah, blah. She then mentions how I need to be careful on the drive there. Lo and behold, there was a wreck on my commute. I got to witness it. At lunch, she asks if I'm okay, which I kind of had just gotten a cut on my arm. I'm a mechanic, so it's common. I asked her if she could stop being so weird and to just chill because life is being weird and I'm not feeling it. She said, "Okay, but how do you think I feel? I'm just stuck like this." I apologized and she agreed she would chill and told me she didn't mean to scare me, but now I'm super weirded out by her. I would change companies, to be honest. You shouldn't work someplace with crappy workplace safety. I bet she knows about this post. Lodger refuses to leave. He's drawn up a fake rental contract saying he has a right to stay in my home for a year. I took in a lodger 4 months ago on a rolling month-to-month contract to help with the cost of living. They have begun treating me like a slave, so I put my foot down and told them they have 6 weeks to move out. He stated that this will not be happening and sent a message to the WhatsApp group of a fake contract he has made that has my signature on it. He's told me that any attempt to move him out will mean trouble for me, but he hasn't put this in writing. So far, my wife's ashes have gone missing, only for him to announce that he found the urn and it would be a shame if it got lost permanently. I really need help. He's blackmailing you and has tried to defraud you. Call the police on him and have them removed immediately. For lodgers, all you have to do is give them reasonable notice. Often, this is a minimum of 24 hours to 1 week. But if there's a threat to yours or your property's safety, you can change the locks and ask them to leave immediately. It'll be easier to do this with the police being there, obviously, so you might want to save this until they come to question your lodger about thefts and fraud. OP. Thank you. I'll file a report while I'm out walking my dog. He deliberately left some dark chocolate on a kitchen counter this afternoon and said, "Oops, maybe I wouldn't be so clumsy if I didn't have you threatening to evict me." I would be putting his stuff outside and changing the locks pronto. What an evil person. OP. I know. I was charging $350 a month, basically to cover my wife's share of the mortgage. He was fine at the start, just grew worse and worse. The heating stays at 24 Celsius. I said it stays at 24. You're out of milk. Get some on your lunch break. You need to clean the bathroom. Are you trying to avoid confrontation? Or is he a big guy or giving off dangerous vibes? Sorry to hear about your wife, but you don't deserve to be treated like that. Put your foot down. OP. He's massive, 6'6" easily, and built like a brick house. Doesn't help that I'm not so big. Call the police, explain the situation. They'll be able to tell the WhatsApp is fake and make him hand over the ashes. OP. I have the ashes. I took them and my wife's jewelry box, etc., and I gave them to a neighbor that I trust. Update. I went to the police station on the evening of my first post. I explained what was going on, that I had a lodger who was refusing to leave and pretending that he was an actual tenant. Police agreed to return with me that evening for the eviction, but I had to wait close to 4 hours at the station. Whenever the officers arrived at my house, the lodger opened the front door and spoke with the officers. He presented them with the fake contract, stating that he was renting this place, that I was the landlord, and that I was attempting an illegal eviction. At this point, the police informed me that they didn't have enough evidence to make a decision on what amounted to a civil matter. I tried to enter my property. The lodger stopped me and said I was trespassing, as a landlord legally has to give 24 hours notice if they wish to enter. The police sided with the lodger and informed me I would have to find alternative accommodation. I ended up having to stay in a dog-friendly B&B for a full week while I spoke with my homeowner's insurance and my bank. I also tried to escalate with the police, but they refused to get involved in a civil matter. Upon returning to my property after a couple of days, I discovered my keys no longer work, so it appears the lodger has changed the locks. I'm now living for free with a friend from my church while my home insurance is working with a solicitor and hopefully my bank to apply more pressure to the police to take action against the lodger. Not a happy situation at the present, I'm afraid. Update 2. Lodger has engaged in several dubious practices which makes it hard for eviction to continue. This includes providing a fake name to me originally, so eviction documents were served on him with the wrong name, getting court hearing delayed by feigning illness, taking on his own lodgers and subtenants, a woman and her daughter, and signing them up for a 1-year rental contract in my home. My insurance company and solicitor work on this matter. Not easy, not going well. Thank you to the local Chinese community and very local people as well for their support. The end is in sight, and I will soon be back in my home. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.